Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Now, France will destroy Islamic State, says the French President François Hollande. Of course, this statement coming in after the Paris attacks. That is the big story that we'll be looking at. Also, a look at the G20 summit that concluded yesterday. Let us begin with the headlines. US President Barack Obama defends IS strategy, says US committed to rooting out the face of evil, rules out ground troops in Syria. France says it will step up its strikes against Islamic State in Syria. François Hollande seeks constitutional changes during address to joint sitting of Parliament. Belgian jihadist Abdelhamid Abaoud being investigated as a possible mastermind of Paris attacks. Investigators believe he was in contact with at least one of the Abdul Salam brothers who carried out the carnage. President Pranab Mukherjee advises the literary icons to use debate in their protest against intolerance, urges them not to return awards by letting emotions overrun reason. And rains continue to pound Tamil Nadu. Death toll due to downpour reaches 71. Chief Minister allocates 500 crore rupees for flood relief and rehabilitation. Well, US President Barack Obama defended his strategy to root out Islamic State as he faced a volley of questions from the international community at the G20 summit in Turkey on Monday. Even as he called Islamic State as the face of evil, he ruled out any ground troops to fight IS in Syria. However, Obama is under strong pressure back home as many US states have now refused to take Syrian migrants due to security fears after the Paris attacks.
There will be an intensification of the strategy that we put forward. And what's been interesting is in the aftermath of Paris, as I listen to those who suggest something else needs to be done, typically the things they suggest need to be done are things we are already doing.
Defensive and combative. The US President Barack Obama strongly defending his IS strategy amid mounting criticism that US is not doing enough to stop the IS advance. Obama reiterated that US-led coalition would intensify its efforts to implement the current strategy rather than moving in a new direction.
But understand that one of the challenges we have in this situation is that if you have a handful of people who don't mind dying, they can kill a lot of people. It's not their sophistication or the particular weaponry that they possess, but it is the ideology that they carry with them and their willingness to die.
However, Obama is facing opposition back home. Many US states have turned a hard face at Syrian refugees due to security fears. Obama pleaded US not to equate refugee crisis with terrorism.
Is very important, and I was glad to see that this was affirmed again and again by the G20, that we do not close our hearts to these victims of such violence and somehow start equating the issue of refugees with the issue of terrorism.
I would watch them very carefully, that's for sure. I would certainly stop any further ingress. You know, Congress, I think, should defund all the programs that allow these people to be brought here immediately.
Parents.
In the wake of the horrific Paris attacks, Obama said that US would begin a new streamlined process of sharing intelligence with France, which would prevent any further attacks. However, the Paris attacks have left at least a few questioning the US directives to stem out IS. The future of Syrian refugees also hangs in balance. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, 28-year-old Belgian jihadist Abdelhamid Abaoud is being investigated as a possible mastermind of the Paris attacks. Now, Abaoud is of Moroccan descent and he has fought along the Islamic State group in Syria and has been on the run since police stormed a jihadist cell in eastern Belgium in January. Now, he has boasted in videos about planning attacks in Europe. AFP quotes French sources as saying that he is still living in Syria. Well, Abaoud was sentenced in absentia by a Belgian court to 20 years in prison in the month of July. Investigators believe that he was in contact with at least one of the Abdel Salam brothers, Brahim Abdel Salam, who is one of the suicide attackers in Paris, and also his brother Salah, who's being hunted by the police. French police President François Hollande has said that the Paris attacks were planned in Syria, launched from Belgium with the help of French. Meanwhile, French officials investigating the deadly Paris attacks have named 7 people that they believe to have carried out the assaults. All right, so at the moment, as far as the investigations in the Paris attacks is concerned, now 28-year-old Belgian jihadist Abdelhamid Abaoud is being investigated as the possible mastermind of the Paris attacks. Now, telling about his nationality, well, he is of Moroccan descent. He has fought along the Islamic State group in Syria, and AFP quotes as French police are saying that he is still in Syria. Well, French President François Hollande has vowed to destroy Islamic State as he sought international cooperation to eliminate the terror group. Addressing a joint session of Parliament, Hollande said that he will be meeting Barack Obama and Vladimir Putin in the coming days to press for a joint attack against the Islamic State.
French President François Hollande says the country would step up the battle against the Islamic State group in Syria, calling the deadly attacks in Paris as an act of war. Hollande told an exceptional meeting of both houses of Parliament he would meet US President Barack Obama and Russia's Vladimir Putin in the coming days and called for a UN Security Council meeting over the fight against IS jihadists.
D'ici là, la France intensifiera ses opérations en Syrie. La nécessité de détruire Daesh constitue un sujet qui concerne toute la communauté internationale. J'ai donc demandé au Conseil de sécurité de se réunir dans les meilleurs délais pour adopter une résolution marquant cette volonté commune.
Hollande also underlined that the threat from the IS is not restricted to the French borders. He urged the international community for assistance to fight the terrorist group.
Nous sommes dans une guerre contre le terrorisme djihadiste qui menace le monde entier et pas seulement la France.
He, however, clarified the fight against a terror group is not a war against any civilization.
Si bien que nous ne sommes pas engagés dans une guerre de civilisation, parce que ces assassins n'en représentent aucune.
The French president also said he would table a bill to extend the state of emergency declared after the attacks for 3 months and would suggest changes to the constitution.
J'estime en conscience que nous devons faire évoluer notre constitution pour permettre au pouvoir public d'agir conformément à l'état de droit contre le terrorisme de guerre.
Hollande also revealed he would pursue measures including 5,000 extra police posts in the next 2 years and no new cuts in the defense budget, making it easier to strip dual nationals of their French citizenship if they are convicted of a terrorist offence, as long as it does not render them stateless, speeding up the deportation of foreigners who pose a particularly great threat to the security of the nation, and pushing for greater European action against arms trafficking and greater penalties for it in France. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, in other news, a 2-day G20 summit ended in Turkey with the pledge to step up the fight against terrorism. The G20 leaders promised to cooperate on managing borders, airline safety, sharing information on suspected terrorists, and many other relevant issues related to global act of terrorism.
The annual G20 summit usually focuses on economic issues. The Paris attacks made the event a crucial opportunity for world leaders to discuss plans to defeat terrorism without affecting migrants' population. Russian President Vladimir Putin appealed to G20 member states to cut off financing to terrorist groups and said Russia was ready to support Syria's opposition with airstrikes in their fight against Islamic State.
The Да, но, конечно, мы все понимаем и об этом говорили, о том, что нужно пресекать пути финансирования террористической деятельности. Я приводил примеры, связанные с нашими данными о финансировании физическими лицами.
It's clear to me that we must work together to defeat this scourge of terrorism that is a threat to Britain, a threat to Russia, a threat to us all.
Stressing further, French Foreign Minister says attacks in Paris claimed by IS were a strike against French values rather than its actions. While Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy added that any measures taken to tackle the group must be thoroughly coordinated.
Il ne nous frappe pas, contrairement à ce qu'ils disent, pour ce que nous faisons, mais pour ce que nous sommes. C'est-à-dire des personnes qui n'acceptent pas leur idéologie et leur domination. Et c'est là où le monde entier ressent, je le crois, que ça peut leur arriver.
Con 300 soldados que están ayudando a formar al ejército de Irak. Y allí estamos contra el Daesh. Y quiero decir que, como ustedes han podido ver en el día de ayer, estamos en una misión de la OTAN para defender a un socio como es Turquía, que puede ser atacado por Daesh.
G20 leaders agreed to step up border controls and aviation security in a joint statement that marked a rare departure from their usual focus on the global economy. Making commitments, newly elected Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau said that they would remain committed to the coalition battling against Islamic State.
There are many countries and many resources continuing in the bombing missions, and we will continue to help in a way that makes a meaningful impact in the fight against ISIL, and we're going to continue to be very clear that Canada is resolute to be part of the fight against ISIL.
Condemning the Paris attacks as heinous, G20 summit concluded with world leaders pledging to remain committed to tackle terrorism. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And more news from Turkey, where Prime Minister Modi and Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj held intense discussions with their counterparts of the top 20 economies in Turkey on Sunday and Monday as well. These discussions covered important areas like infrastructure financing and reducing transaction costs for remittances, among others. At the G20 summit, the Paris attacks prompted Prime Minister Narendra Modi to seek steps to choke terror funding. He also asked advanced nations to set aside a $100 billion annual fund to tackle climate change. India also sought lower transaction costs for sending money from one country to another.
I think one of the biggest hurdles for enhancing financial access in the country like ours is the high transaction cost. I think that's very, very important, more so for a country like India, which is attracting huge amount of money through remittances.
Last year, India got remittances worth $70 billion, the largest in the world. Indians spent 7.5% of this, or $5.25 billion in transaction cost. India wants G20 nations to bring down this cost to 3% by 2030. It also sought $500 billion for infrastructure financing to upgrade roads, airports, seaports and its British-era rail network. In return, India assured of a low corporate tax regime to attract investment.
Tax terrorism is one thing we need to tackle before we invite the investment proposals from other countries. The second point is the BEPS. I think India is leading discussions regarding BEPS in the G20 negotiations. It is base erosion and profit sharing. It's related to the tax avoidance by the multinationals.
A study done by Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, multinational companies exploit loopholes in tax laws and shift profits to the places where corporate tax is negligible. OECD estimates $100 to $240 billion are lost due to this. India wants G20 countries to plug these loopholes. It also sought more rights on international financial institutions like the IMF and World Bank, where reforms are long due. This is Krishnanand Tripathi's report for Rajya Sabha TV. And some more international stories now in World Wrap. Officials in Harvard have ruled out any bomb threat in the university campus. Just a day before, a bomb threat was issued in the wake of Paris terror attacks which killed nearly 130 people. Police officials are investigating the source behind the bomb threat. Anti-racist protests are back in the U.S. city of Minneapolis. They are protesting over a police official shooting an unarmed black man early on Sunday. Witnesses said that he was also handcuffed when the police opened fire at him. An investigation has been launched into the incident. Myanmar's parliament is meeting for the first time since Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy won a landslide victory in recently concluded polls. New MPs will not attend the session as the members who lost their seats can remain in office until the end of January. Suu Kyi made no comment on the new session as she was mobbed by media at parliament. In Breakfast News, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
Tales that inspire, stories of social change. A salute to diversity, promoting public discourse. Events that motivate, inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries every Friday at 10:30 p.m, Saturday 12:30 p.m, and Sunday at 1 p.m.
Northeast monsoon continues to wreak havoc in Tamil Nadu with rains pounding the north coastal districts. The death due to the rain-related incidents has risen to 71 now. From Karnataka to Puducherry, the rain fury continues to hit other parts of South India as well. While more rain is forecast for the coming days, its intensity is going to decrease after Tuesday. Now, 500 crore rupees have been allotted for flood relief and rehabilitation in Tamil Nadu.
Northeast monsoon fury continues in Tamil Nadu with the death toll due to heavy rains and flooding rising to 71. Normal life has been hit as incessant rains have led to inundation of large areas. In Chennai, educational institutions, subways have been shut, suburban train services have been disrupted. There is going to be little relief today as well as Met Department has forecast heavy downpour in Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and coastal Andhra Pradesh, much depending upon movement of a low pressure area over coastal parts.
Since the system is heading towards South Andhra coast as well as North Tamil Nadu coast, those districts abutting the Rayalaseema and coastal Andhra Pradesh, namely Vellore, Tiruvallur, Chennai and Kanchipuram, may experience heavy to very heavy rainfall.
We have taken all precautionary measures to prevent any untoward incidents, especially to avoid the human losses. Control rooms have been opened at the district collectorate in all the 5 revenue divisions, and as well as district level officers have been sent to all the mandals to monitor the flood situations. People in the low lying areas have been identified and they have been alerted.
On Monday, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha herself faced the rain fury when her convoy was stuck in the jam when she was visiting her constituency, Dr. Radhakrishnan Nagar. The state government is evacuating people living in low-lying areas. Relief for 4 lakh rupees each to the affected families has been announced. The Chief Minister has said that big motor pumps and super sucker machines have been pressed into service to remove stagnant water. 11 teams comprising 400 personnel of NDRF responders have been rushed to the state to conduct relief and rescue operations. Amid chaos, Jayalalitha has appealed for calm.
கோயம்பேடு நியூ காலனி பகுதி சார் இது மழை வெள்ளத்தில் 10 நாளாக மழை வந்ததால ஒரே தண்ணி வந்து இந்த சாக்கடை தண்ணியும் சேர்ந்து வருதால வீடு வீடெல்லாம் மூழ்கி போச்சு. மக்கள் ரொம்ப அவதிப்படுறாங்க. குழந்தை குட்டிலாம் வந்து ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்படுறாங்க. அதுக்கு
Congress President Sonia Gandhi on Monday also expressed distress at the damage in the state and asked the centre and state government to spare no effort in reaching food, shelter and relief to the affected people. Meanwhile, the prices of vegetables have also soared in the areas affected. There is also a fear of waterborne diseases looming large. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, after making his interventions on the raging debate on intolerance, President Pranab Mukherjee called on intellectuals to resolve matters through debate and discussion. He urged writers and filmmakers not to return awards, but cherish the recognition.
President Pranab Mukherjee reminded literary icons and artists who are returning their awards in protest against growing intolerance that they should not let their emotions overrun reason and that disagreement must be expressed through debate and discussion.
Awards should be cherished and valued by those who receive them. Sensitive minds sometimes get disturbed by some incidents in society, but expression of concern over such events should be balanced.
President Mukherjee made his address after inaugurating the National Press Day celebrations organized by the Press Council of India. He also gave away national awards for excellence in journalism on the occasion.
The power of the media should be used to reset our moral compasses and promote liberalism, humanism and decency in public life.
Meanwhile, Minister of State General V.K. Singh was embroiled in yet another controversy when he said that intolerance in India is an unnecessary creation of very imaginative minds being paid with a lot of money. He further asserted that it was a politically motivated move before the Bihar polls. Opposition leaders were quick to react and criticize V.K. Singh for his remark. Janata Dal United President Sharad Yadav asked the BJP top brass to take action against the minister for repeatedly making such controversial statements.
और रोज ये कोई ना कोई बुरी बात बोलता है आदमी, यानी हिंदुस्तान में जो फौज है उसके जनरल ने इतना को भी उपद्रव नहीं किया होगा जिस तरह इसने किया, और ये यहाँ भी इसको ले लिया इन लोगों ने. रोज ये कोई ना कोई ऐसी बात कहता है फिर पलटता है, और मैं कहूंगा कि बीजेपी इसकी जबान बंद करे.
At least 75 members of the intelligentsia have returned awards in an escalation of protests by writers, historians, filmmakers and scientists who are growing intolerance, voicing fears that the country is being ruined in the current atmosphere. The BJP-led government has dismissed the protest as manufactured rebellion and politically motivated. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
News from Uttar Pradesh. Well, with more than a year to go for the assembly elections in the state, Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav is ready, indicating a likely battle strategy to take on the BJP in the state. But his plan is finding a limited appeal among other BJP rivals.
After the victory in Bihar, the idea of a grand alliance taking shape in Uttar Pradesh as well. Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav set the ball rolling when he spoke of a coalition of anti-BJP forces. Both the BJP and the BSP, however, criticized his remarks.
आज उत्तर प्रदेश में समाजवादी पार्टी सरकार में पूरा प्रदेश जंगलराज बन गया है. एक और गुंडाराज समाजवादी पार्टी सरकार को उखाड़ फेंकने का है, वहीं पर दूसरी ओर केंद्र की भारतीय जनता पार्टी जो दंगाराज की पर्याय बन चुकी है, उसको भी जिम्मेदार करना है.
Every political party is entitled to make a political comment. As far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned, perhaps the Samajwadi Party recognizes that they have not undertaken developmental activities, not lived up to the promises, and people are getting distant from them. Perhaps this is a comment based on that reality, and it's a comment born out of concern rather than, I think, any positivity.
Even potential allies like JDU and the Congress were guarded in their response.
अखिलेश जी की राय हो सकती है और किसी की राय, उनके एक मंत्री की भी एक राय ओपन हुई थी और उन्होंने भी इस तरह का बयान दिया था. मगर जो हमारे उत्तर प्रदेश के प्रभारी हैं, वहां के अध्यक्ष हैं, कांग्रेस का क्या रुख होगा और क्या बातें होंगी ये वो बता सकते हैं.
सारे जितने भी गांधीवादी हैं, जितने भी समाजवादी हैं, अंबेडकरवादी हैं, लोहियावादी हैं, मानववादी हैं, जितने भी भारत के संविधान में विश्वास करने वाले लोग हैं, मार्क्सिस्ट हैं, सब लोगों को एकजुट होकर के इसके खिलाफ अनवरत और सिद्धांत निष्ठ संघर्ष करने की जरूरत है.
With his remarks failing to get much traction, Akhilesh Yadav soon made amendments.
सवाल आपने पूछा है
बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है और क्योंकि आप जमीन पर रहते हो, आप चीजों को समझते हो.
Assembly elections in UP are more than a year away, but Akhilesh comments have certainly stirred the political pot, indicating that another mega electoral thriller is shaping up in the first half of 2017. Vishal Daya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And now a look at what all is in store through the day in the day ahead. Home Minister Rajnath Singh will chair an inaugural session of Asia Leaders Meeting conducted towards implementation of a Sendai framework today in the national capital. Asia Leaders Meeting will be attended by key dignitaries and senior ministers from the nations of China, Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia, Mongolia, South Korea and Thailand. In fresh trouble for Nestle India Limited, the food regulator FSSAI moved the Supreme Court against the Bombay High Court order lifting the ban on Maggi noodles in the country. The apex court is likely to hear FSSAI's plea against the lifting ban on Maggi noodles today. FSSAI in its fresh plea has questioned the sanctity of the samples provided for retest to government-approved labs. A Delhi court is likely to pass its order on CBI's closure report giving clean chit to Congress leader Jagdish Tytler in a 1984 anti-Sikh riots case. The riot victims have filed a protest petition against the clean chit given thrice to Tytler by the CBI, claiming that there was ample evidence to prosecute him and accuse the agency of favouring him. Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative will launch a virtual police station that will provide information on the functioning of a police station online. Filing an FIR or understanding police processes can be done without visiting the police station. The virtual police station is first of its kind training tool to acquaint the public with the functioning of a police station and act as a training tool. Well, on to cricket news. Rain is threatening to wash out the second test in Bangalore between India and South Africa after the third day's play was completely washed out, making it 2 days in a row without a ball being bowled. Play was called off at 11:30 a.m. on Monday after continuous drizzle kept the players off. The forecast for the fourth day also seems gloomy, with the wet weather conditions likely to remain. After the only bit of action on the day one, India are 80 for no loss with openers Shikhar Dhawan and Murli Vijay at the crease. The hosts bowled out South Africa on 214 in their first innings, with spinners R. Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja picking up 4 wickets each. And some more sporting action now in Sports Beat. Pakistan Cricket Board rejected India's offer to host their proposed bilateral cricket series in the month of December. PCB Chairman Shahryar Khan said that a third home series in India was out of question, adding that he could not see any reason why India is refusing to play in the UAE. According to a MOU signed by the BCCI and the PCB in 2014, this is Pakistan's turn to play host. For security reasons, Pakistan play their home matches in the UAE. Saurav Ghoshal beat Ryan Kuskely of Australia to reach the second round of the Men's World Squash Championship. World number 17, Ghoshal, who had a direct entry into the prestigious event, got past the 20th ranked Australian 7-11, 11-8, 11-7, 11-3. However, Harinderpal Sandhu and Mahesh Mangaonkar lost their opening round matches to bow out of the tournament. Andy Murray began his ATP World Tour Finals campaign with a convincing win over Spain's David Ferrer. The British number 1 won in straight sets 6-4, 6-4. He will next play Rafael Nadal, who brushed aside Stan Wawrinka 6-3, 6-2 in his opening game. 2 goals from John Walters helped the Republic of Ireland secure a Euro 2016 spot as they overcame Bosnia-Herzegovina in the playoff second leg in Dublin. The 2-0 win in the second leg gave Ireland a 2-1 aggregate win. They now join Northern Ireland, England and Wales in Euro 2016 in France. Well, that's all in this edition of Breakfast News. Thanks for your time.